A Visual Audio's production. Paranormal Investigations. The proper procedures and protocols of doing an investigation from the beginner to the pro. Written by Chad Stambaugh and read by Nigel Peaver. Preface. The first and most important thing that I want to stress from the beginning here is that the methods and procedures that I talk about here are my opinion. They are not the only ways of doing an investigation. However, most of the reputable names in the paranormal field that I have investigated with or have talked to extensively use the very methods that I will talk to you about here in my book. What I've done is taken the best ideas and methods and put them together in what I believe to be a concise and proper way an investigation should be handled. And I'm not talking about the high-profile celebrities on TV whom, in my opinion, have lost their way due to the stardom that their prospective show has given them. If you watch these shows, you'll notice all kinds of different ways to do an investigation. Some are good, some are very wrong and dangerous, and some are even just downright ridiculous. Or the charlatans that parade themselves at para-conferences. No, I'm talking about the ones who do this on a daily basis, day in and day out, not just one day a week, or during a weekend and say, "Look at me," and want to get paid for it. Those people who are out there on a daily basis to actually help people that have problems with their homes or businesses. People who need and want to understand what is going on so that they can deal with it, or on some occasion want whatever it is gone so that they can have their lives back. These very dedicated and professional few are who I base my methods and procedures on. I think that those of us in the paranormal field will finally be taken seriously by not only the mainstream, but by the scientific arena, if every single person or team of investigators uses these simple yet effective methods in every single investigation that you do. Whether you are on the East Coast or West Coast of the United States, in Europe, Africa, and South America, or anywhere in between, everyone needs to use the same methods and procedures. Once this is accomplished, we will no longer be looked at as a bunch of crazy crackpots who are just running around like little kids in a candy store seeing ghosts at every turn and proclaiming that we know what we're doing. Yet, because of a lack of consistency in our methods, we cannot prove anything because we're not taken seriously. As for equipment, not one piece of equipment, unfortunately, has been invented yet to unequivocally and scientifically prove the existence of spirits. I will, however, show you some methods and ideas that I feel will make it arguably easier to possibly prove that ghosts do exist, and harder for the scientific skeptics to prove us wrong. However, the equipment that we do have at our disposal is pretty good at getting some, let's say, interesting conclusions, if used properly and uniformly everywhere. I will not say that they prove unequivocally that ghosts exist. What I will say, though, is that they can produce some interesting conclusions that need to be looked at closer because of the unexplained results that they sometimes create. This book, Paranormal Investigations, will also hopefully create a feeling of something else that this field desperately needs to be taken seriously in mainstream. That feeling is paranormal unity. If every team or individual uses the same methods and learns to work together as a larger forum and gets rid of what I call the ego factor, we can, as a field, come together and get some real work done to finally prove that ghosts exist. Until this happens, we can't get rid of the paradrama that is too prevalent in our field. The paranormal field is not a competition. It is supposed to be about cooperation. Okay, enough of my personal opinions. Let's get started with what this book is all about. The procedures and methods that will be explained here will be split into two groups. The first will be for people with an interest in investigating historical sites or a site used for a paranormal convention or paracon that you're visiting, or just a fun place to investigate. The people that like to do these kinds of investigations are what I call ghost hunters. Why? Because all a ghost hunter wants to do is go on the investigation. They will check their evidence that night, but won't check all of it, or they won't check it at all. I know some investigators that have evidence from years before and still haven't reviewed their evidence. Now, before you jump all over me and say, maybe that's all I want to do, well, that's great, and I have no problem with it. Those types of investigations have their place. Heck, I even do them. What I have a problem with is when they investigate a private residence and all they do is give the client their evidence. Maybe tell the client that, yes, we think that something might be happening here. What if the client wants the spirit gone? Or even an explanation as to why the spirit is there. Maybe the client wants to know how to handle it themselves, or wants to know how to take their house back. A ghost hunter will just say, sorry, but we don't do that, and leaves the client hanging. A paranormal investigator not only does the investigation, but will help the client get rid of the spirit entity and counsel their clients of maybe why the spirit was there, and help the client understand what is possibly going on. They will also help educate the client on how to empower themselves so that they can protect themselves and to take back control of their lives. That's the difference between the two. So, if the ghost hunter is not willing, in my opinion, to take the next step and get the education to help the client completely, they should not delve into private, client-based investigations. You're doing more harm than good. Now, if the ghost hunter wants to move on to the next phase, this can be achieved once you've advanced beyond what we call weekend warrior syndrome. I'm stealing this phrase from my military days. You're now ready to take this more seriously and help people that need our help. You're getting the education that you need to help our clients by seeking out other experienced investigators or teams that are willing to teach this aspect of the business. You're reading books, taking classes. These resources are out there. You just have to look for them. At the end of my book will be a list of reputable teams and organizations out there that do just that. I encourage you to reach out to these awesome teams. They will gladly help you out. Now, some of these procedures that I will show you can be used at both locations. The main reason I say they're different, and that you need different procedures and protocols in handling a private investigation than you do a fun investigation, which again is what I consider an investigation of an historical site or a paracon. The private investigations have legal ramifications. So, because there are a few more procedures that need to be followed with a private investigation, I need to break the two up for you to get the correct feel for how they each should be handled. Introduction. For the beginner, people just getting into what the paranormal is all about, let me try and explain some things for you before getting into the meat and potatoes. The paranormal is a rather broad field and has come to generally include all types of mysterious phenomena. The word paranormal basically means above the normal. It can apply to just about anything we do not yet understand and that has not yet been scientifically proven. The most common aspects of the paranormal field include different categories, such as ghosts, parapsychology, which studies psi phenomena, UFOs, and cryptozoology, which studies unknown animals. All of these categories are considered to be the study of metaphysics. This is the study about the existence and consciousness of the unknown. The study of paranormal and anomalous phenomena is a must to gain more insight into the human condition of both the now and when we die. The study of metaphysics will enhance your knowledge of the paranormal from what you've seen or heard on TV. You're probably asking, why would someone get into this field or even believe in it? I don't follow organized religion per se, but I am a spiritual person. I've always wondered about the other side and where we go when we leave this existence. So delving into the paranormal for me was a natural progression from just wondering to actually doing investigations. I'm going to share a couple of my personal experiences that prove to me that there are spirits. One day, while at home with my daughter, I witnessed a 1-cup measuring scoop fly across the room and hit my daughter in the head. No one was in the kitchen but my daughter, who was a good 6 feet away from the scoop that we used to feed the animals. Now, this house is my wife's house, and her grandmother had died in it some years back. Now, before I ever moved in, she had experiences with her grandmother, who originally owned the house. All of the animals were accounted for, and just 5 minutes before this, I had asked my daughter to feed the animals, and she had not done it yet. To me, this was Grandma's way of reminding my daughter to feed the animals. Another time, I was feeding my grandson in his high chair, and we were the only humans in the house at the time. Not even any of the animals were in the house, because I checked. We have all our furniture, sofa, love seat, and a recliner that my wife sits in against one side of the house. The recliner is situated in between the couch and the love seat. The recliner faces directly at the other wall where the TV is located. And this recliner is pretty heavy. You have to actually sit in it to move it. Well, I was feeding my grandson in his high chair while sitting on the sofa facing away from the recliner. A couple of moments into feeding my grandson, he started looking over my shoulder like he's watching someone behind me. I think nothing of it at first. A few more minutes go by, and just out of curiosity, I turn around and I ask my grandson, "Who are you looking at?" Then, for no real reason, other than it just popped into my head, I said, "Is there anyone else here with us today?" As soon as I said that, the recliner makes a 45-degree turn towards me and my grandson. Needless to say, I immediately got goosebumps. So I say, "Grandma, if that's you, can you turn the chair back to its rightful position?" No sooner had I said it, and it turned back to its rightful position. All I could say in my shock was, "Thank you." And so my involvement into paranormal investigating began. With all the different ghost hunting shows on the air and all the different ways that you have seen an investigation done on TV, have you ever wondered how to do your own paranormal investigation? I did. Where do you go to learn about doing this? Are there people out there who can teach you how to do this? Quite frankly, I don't know. So my wife and I started a search online to see if there was anything or anyone in our area that could help us with that. We found a paranormal group in our local Fresno, California area, and found out that the leader actually taught classes. So we took her 6-week course and had our final, which was an actual investigation at a locally proclaimed haunted hotel resort. To our surprise and excitement, we actually got some really good evidence. When we got that first EVP, it was like I was 5 years old again, and I was with my grandmother when she took me to the local 5 and dime store. Yeah, I'm showing my age here, but you know the feeling? You walk in there, and on the side of the wall is all that penny candy, and your grandma gives you a whole dollar and says, "Get whatever you want." Your eyes go wide with excitement because you just hit the jackpot. Of course, she later clarifies that you have to share it with your sister and cousins who are also staying at Grandma's, but you get the point. Hearing that first captured EVP is like getting all that candy. It was a fantastic evening. From there, we actually met some other groups and started to investigate with them. We started investigating all sorts of unique and interesting places. 2 years later, we started our own team, the 11th Hour Paranormal, and the rest is history. Okay, so enough about me. This is a book, after all, about how to investigate. I hope that this will help you understand in a layman's terms how to do a proper investigation. All the books that I have read or heard about are either just stories, or that person's or group's experience, or they get so technical and scientific that it goes over most of our heads and makes no sense. I want to keep this as simple as possible for us average people. But let's talk about some other things first. You have been listening to Paranormal Investigations by Chad Stambaugh, read by Nigel Peaver, for Visual Audios.